two more to address you on, Chair.
Yeah.
We have in the files the transcript of the consultation between Ms. Mento and Mr. Mtolo. There are two. But
Yes.
those transcripts actually are derived from actual recordings which have been tendered. And I would like
Yes.
them also to be tendered into evidence and to acquire a number, Chair.
But they relate to a recording that is yet to be put up, isn't it?
It is yet to be put up unless they tender it. And then the third would be Ms. Mento's own recording as well.
Yes.
I'm in your hands as to how to deal
Or
with
her
those.
own recording.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, I think that let's deal with that first.
Then I would suggest that be number D8.
Do I already have it?
You have the transcript of that recording, and I am.
Has it been put into one of the bundles?
It's the first on D6, Chair. D6A.
What page? Because
Page-
what I have, the first document on that, it says transcript, okay, page 1 and 2, that's the filing notice. And then it says affidavit, that's page 3. Page
Chair,
5 is another affidavit.
Chair, if you permit me to shorten this, my
tran-
mistake. The transcript is not in the bundle, and the reason being that Ms. Mento is unhappy with that transcript, and that it does. The conversation was both in English and Xhosa, and instead of writing out the Xhosa version or translating it, it just has insertions of Xhosa speaks or speaking
Well, if
in
it is
Xhosa.
still to be corrected,
So it is still
let's
to be
not-
corrected, Chair.
It shouldn't be admitted until it's corrected.
Although it is part of the record already at D6B,
Yeah, and when it's corrected, what will happen?
it would be correcting the transcription, but it will be correcting the transcription, but the actual recording stands.
Yeah, why was this not all done prior, so that what we admit is something as accurately as possible?
It unfortunately, Chair, is that recording of Saturday, the 8th of February. It's that recording that Ms. Mento said she.
Well, if it's already in one of the exhibits, then it's part of that. We'll deal with it that way. What you should do is that once there's a correction, the corrected version must be put up afresh, and it must be
Indeed.
indicated that that's the more accurate recording.
May we then, Chair, at the time we put in the corrected transcription, then tender the voice recording?
Yeah, I think that is what should
transcribed.
happen. And actually, the corrected version should carry a different number as a separate exhibit, and comparisons can always be made.
We will, Chair.
Yeah, okay.
I will not then submit it at this juncture, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you. Chair, we've had a brief discussion with the representatives of both Ms. Kaunda and Mr. Mtolo.
Yeah.
The parties have agreed that Ms. Kaunda's legal representatives will be the first to cross-examine, and thereafter Mr. Mtolo's representatives.
Yeah, that's in order.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
County, Johannesburg Bar.
Yes, just remind me, I know you did introduce yourself some time back, and you have been around, but it's been quite some time
Certainly,
back.
Chair. Henry
Yes.
County, Johannesburg
Just
Bar.
give me the spelling.
C-O-W-L-E-Y.
C-O-W-L-E-Y. Cowley?
Yes.
Cowley, okay. Okay, thank you. You are for Ms. Kaunda. Now, I don't remember that I fixed the time that I will give you for cross-examination, but I may have indicated what my inclination was, and I had asked that those concerned be invited to make written submissions as to what they thought of the time I thought I would give them. I never received anything, or I'm not aware that I've received anything, but I can't remember what the periods are that I had indicated. Do you know anything about that?
According to my recollection, we've been given or afforded half an hour. I endeavour to keep to that, yes.
Okay, half an hour is fine. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good afternoon, Ms. Mentor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cowley.
May I ask you to turn to Exhibit D1, which contains your statement before the Commission, and particularly at page 18.
18.
Yes.
Did you say page 18?
1-8.
1-8.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have it in front of you, Ms. Mentor?
I'm there, Mr. Cowley.
Thank you, Ms. Mentor. Paragraph 60 of your statement reads as follows. I had communicated with Ms. Lakela Kaunda, Ms. Kaunda, who at the time I thought was Mr. Zuma's personal assistant, in order to secure a meeting with Mr. Zuma. On one Sunday evening in around October 2010, about a week or so before the cabinet reshuffle, I received a telephone call from Ms. Kaunda to say that the president could see me the following day. I think Ms. Kaunda was the PA, although it could have been a different position, but she definitely appeared to be from the President's office. And then paragraph 61 and 62 and going over to 64 all deals with what you allege Ms. Kaunda informed you about the Johannesburg meeting, if you can call it that. Do you still persist to that this is your version in respect of Ms. Kaunda?
In terms of paragraph 60, which you read first, I would like to bring your attention to the month of October. That would not be correct.
Yes, I've heard your evidence, and it seems as though that you're now of the opinion that it may have been in September. Is that the correction that you wish to make?
Yes.
We will return to that. But the question still... The question still remains whether you persist with the rest to be your version in respect of Ms. Kaunda.
I persist that the evening before I flew to Cape Town, I was in communication with Ms. Kaunda after she phoned me. That subsequent to that, I got the number for the person that would pick me up from the airport from her.
And that it was Ms. Kaunda.
Yes.
Since that is the position, I'm required to debate with you the version of Ms. Kaunda. But before we get to that, I first want to ask a few questions about this version, as well as what you have said at different points during the run-up to the Commission's evidence. In this regard, may I ask you to turn to the record of your evidence. That would be day 5, 28 August, at page 57.
Of the same bundle?
No, that would be the record of the proceedings.
I think you are referring to the transcript.
Transcript.
Somebody must just make sure she knows where to find that. Have you been told where to find that, Ms. Mentor? I think somebody must go to her and find that liver arch file for her. Well, I had said yesterday it must be marked transcript so that it's clear to see it. The one I have here is not marked on the outside. So if I want to know where the transcript is, I've got to look at the pages inside.
Where I'm referring you to is...
So please take care of that.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes, you may proceed.
Where
Excuse me, which page?
Page 57 of day 5. That would be the 28th of August 2018.
57. I'm at 57.
Thank you. Right at the top there, it's recorded that you have said I did not know her personally. That's now Ms. Kaunda. We had not met, but we had communicated. Is that still your position?
Yes.
Now, insofar as the nature of the communication is concerned, may I ask you to turn in that same record to page 54. It's recorded that you have said there, because I think on paragraph 105 of my statement, I attest to the fact that I had 2 meetings in the Thule House between myself and Jesse Duarte and Gwede. I speak largely about the second meeting there because it relates to the China trip, which is a component of my statement before the Commission. But above, in that 105, I refer to the first meeting with myself, Jesse and Gwede in the Thule House. The agenda of that meeting was to complain to them that I am struggling to get the President to discuss the issue of the pebble bed modular reactor, and it is in the Thule House that it was suggested to me that I get the President through Ms. Kaunda, and that is where I got her number. And then at line number 10, when she called me, and I had also had SMSs before that call, I had SMSs with her discussing the issue, trying to ask her to facilitate the meeting so that I knew that it was her calling me. The question is, you will recall at page 57, you said that you have not personally met Ms. Kaunda, but you had communicated with her. Is this the form of communication that you refer to?
Before the night that Ms. Kaunda called me, we had exchanged SMS by means of which I had tried to get hold of the President.
So that is a yes to the question. The form of communication that I had before that night was with SMS.
Yes.
You're sure about that?
Yes. The first, yes.
There had been no written communication other than SMSs between the two of you?
I had never written to Ms. Kaunda per se. I had written to the Presidency.
Okay, that's fine.
If I may then ask you to again return to bundle D1 or exhibit D1. In that is contained a number of statements that you have made over time. I'm going to concentrate on two
Which bundle,
statements.
sir?
Bundle D1.
D1.
I will draw your attention to
Yes,
the specific statements just in
Yes.
due course. But just by way of explaining, I'm going to draw your attention to at least 2 of these statements, of which the first one is the written statement that you made to the Hawks, that you insisted that they had to be produced to you, and then the so-called corrupted statement, the typed one, which you will recall you have made certain notes in and called it the corrupted statement. Now, firstly,
You confirm that you do remember those 2 statements?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Referring then to your written statement, please turn to page 269 of D1.
Chair, if I may, with your permission, I'm here, Chair. It's a law addressing you, Chair. For avoidance of confusion, I think the record has it that the document that my learned friend is referring to has been admitted as D5.
D5.
D5. It's the handwritten statement that starts at page 269.
Do they not appear in D1? Because
No,
he,
the
I
ref-
thought he is talking about statements that he says are in D1.
It is when he said page 265
Yeah.
that it confuses. 265 relates to D5. Otherwise, he may locate the same statement with a different page number in another file.
Oh, okay.
Another file. So I just
Okay.
wanted to say it's D5 for the
Okay.
reader.
Okay. No, that's all right.
Actually, I have this one from my own handbag, so I don't.
I see there's some
I will
assistance there.
use this. Oh, yes.
Do you have the
Okay,
written
thank
statement
you.
in front of you?
I have only this one, not the corrupted one.
Okay. That will suffice.
Okay.
If you
But
turn,
I'm sorry, Mr. Cowley, I haven't been checking because I'm not sure. I'm waiting to see how important it is for me to see what's in the particular page. Are those two statements that you said you are going to focus on, are they not on D1?
it seems as though I've been mistaken about the one that I'm now dealing with, the written one. It may
Okay.
be my mistake.
Okay.
And I'm indebted to my little friend that she pointed that out.
Because I just want to make sure we are all on the same page, all
Certainly.
three of us.
Certainly.
So at the moment, that statement is in what document as far as you are concerned?
Marcelo informed us it is D5,
Yes.
and it starts at page 269.
Oh, okay. Now, okay, that's my D5. Would Has be like that as well, Ms. Silo, or not?
I understand, Chair, that she has been directed to it. Ms. Mentor, can you confirm if you have the statement that starts at page 265? 269, apologies.
Yes, I have this one that I've always carried in my
But
handbag.
that's separate. She must be able to find it in the same documents
has
that we
D5.
are finding it.
Ms. Molefe suggests that she gave it to her from D5, Chair. It's not one from her bag.
Tell her it's like this, but if it's not like this,
It-
on the outside.
It's not bound like that, Chair. It was bound that way for you.
Okay. Try and make sure we all have the same thing. Now, Ms. Molefe will come to you and try and find the statement, not that you use your own that you have been carrying, but you use the one that we have here.
But he said he's going to use both this one and the third one that I had made his mentions with. This is, I have D5, the handwritten statement.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I want to direct your attention to paragraph 25 of it. For the record, it would then be in D5 at 273. Do you have it, Ms. Mentor? Paragraph 25.
I'm sorry. My D5 has got page numbers at the bottom starting at 1897. I thought you were mentioning a page number that's different.
Chair, because these are recycled documents, our numbering is at the top right-hand corner.
But I don't have that numbering at the right-hand corner.
Chair, if I may be of assistance, maybe we can use simply the paragraph numbers. And I want to refer to paragraph 25.
Yeah, no, it's just that it's unacceptable.
Certainly.
We were
Chair,
talking about these things yesterday as well, and we are wasting time trying to find which document is the right one and who has what document.
Chair, I wasn't aware that it's not numbered. It comes from August 2018. So when we corrected the numbering, we concentrated on
Yes,
the
but
bundle that we
but it's your
submitted.
responsibility to make sure that what I have is in the form in which it should be.
I accept
And
that,
if it's
Chair.
supposed to be paginated, you are the one who must make sure that it's paginated if you are going to be leading the witness.
I accept that, Chair. I apologize that it is not paginated. I worked off the premise that up to D5, everything is in order, Chair.
D4 also doesn't have any numbering on the right-hand corner, as you say. It's got a numbering at the bottom.
Chair, may we provide you with a paginated file for reference purposes during this cross-examination, and we'll attend to your pagination?
Well, I think what we should do in order to not to waste time, Mr. Cowley, in regard to D5, I think in terms of page numbers, I see that there are handwritten, or even these handwritten numbers at the top are not helpful because the first page is marked 1, but the next one is marked 11, the next one is marked 15. So that's not going to help. I thought we were going to use those.
Chair, I beg leave to hand through the registrar a D5 properly paginated for reference purposes. And
Will the witness have the same thing?
Ms. Mulife advises that her D5 is properly paginated.
Okay, and Mr. Cowley, will you be able to manage?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mine is paginated
Is
the same.
the same?
Yes.
Okay, so I was the only one who was not given a paginated one.
I apologize, Chair, with your leave. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Cowley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Mentor, at paragraph 25, you have stated, I struggled for 2 months to arrange a meeting with the President. I went to Tainais with a letter requesting a meeting. I followed
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Cowley. What page of D5 are you on now?
273.
270, okay.
No, 273.
273,
Yes.
okay. Yes, okay.
Thank you. I pick it up then in the second sentence. I followed protocol in arranging the meeting. I also phoned Ms. Lukele Kaunda at the Tule House, and going over to paragraph 26. After spoken to Ms. Kaunda, she made a contact with me on Sunday evening after 10 on my official phone. She just informed me that a person will phone me with regard to my meeting with the President together with the arrangements. Just bear that in mind, and then I ask you to turn to D1.
I'm sorry, before you move on, Mr. Cowley, I am at page 273. I've been trying to find where you are reading from. There is a paragraph marked 22 at the center, and then 23, 24, 25, and 26.
Yes, I read from 25 and 26 going over the page.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So
From 25, you're sending me to where?
I'm sending you to D1 at page 153. My apologies. Let's start at the beginning of that statement, 150, 150.
To D5,
No, D1?
D1,
D1.
page.
150.
I am there, thank you.
Thank you. And then, just by way of confirmation, is this the corrupted statement that you testified about in your evidence in chief?
Yes,
In other words, is this the statement you referred to as corrupted?
from page 150.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
This is the statement that you referred to when you talked about a corrupted statement.
yes,
Okay.
And then may I ask you to turn to page 152 of that same document? Paragraph 25 with the added A. Have you that in front of you? That
Yes, sir.
reads, I struggled for 2 months to arrange a meeting with the President. I went to the Tainais with a letter requesting a meeting. I followed protocol in arranging the meeting, I also phoned Ms. Lakela Kaunda at Letuli House, then added in script. Eventually, I also phoned Letuli House repeatedly to get an appointment with the president. And then going over to 26, after spoken to Mr. L. Kaunda, she made contact with me a Sunday evening after 10 on my official phone. She just informed me that the person will phone me with regard to my meeting with the president together with arrangements. That was to be for the next day, which was a Monday. Now, I want to propose to you that the written statement and the one you refer to as the corrupted statement, insofar as paragraphs 25 and 26 are concerned, were substantially the same. Do you agree?
Yes.
What I want to point out in these paragraphs is that you quite clearly state here that you've actually spoken to Ms. Kaunda. Do you persist with that? Sorry, may I rephrase? You've actually spoken with Ms. Kaunda before she phoned you on the Sunday night.
That 25, where it's written I phoned, it should be I contacted. The same applies to the corrupted statement. And yes, so instead of phoned, I contacted her by SMS.
So you want to then revert to what you have said in evidence in chief before the commission, namely that the communication that preceded the phone call of the Sunday night had been SMS and not telephonic conversation.
Yes.
If I may then ask you to turn in the same bundle, D1, to page 38. That's the transcript of the public protector's interview with you dated the 21st of July 2016.
I'm sorry,
Behind
what
behind
page?
Page
the corrupted.
D1, page 38, Chair.
Page 38. My 38. Oh, okay, I've got it here. Thank you.
If you page through that, do you confirm that that was the record of the interview that you had with the public protector?
Yes, sir.
Then I want to ask you to turn specifically to page 81. You have that?
I have 81 missing in my bundle. It's 80 and 82.
I noticed that the copies that had been supplied to me, Mr. Chair, had has double sides.
Oh,
Yes, the same. You
oh.
must just have, look on both sides.
My 80, it's blank at the back.
It looks as though she has that problem, Mr. Chair.
In fact, I only have the even numbers in this transcript.
Okay.
I can take this one. This one is my take. I'm 81.
Thank you. You will see that the lines are numbered on the left-hand side. Please go down to line number 18. That reads, I went to Letuli House. On the phone, Jesse had given me the hint that maybe I should speak to Lakela Lakela Kaunda, who worked with or for the president. But eventually, I did not go to the Thule House, and I met both Jesse and SG, and I told them my displeasure about the whole affair of the China trip. The important thing here is, do you confirm that you've told the public protector that this is the way that you managed to get the telephone number of Ms. Kaunda?
I don't understand your question.
You confirm that this is the way in which you obtained the telephone number of Ms. Kaunda through this conversation with Ms. Jessie Duarte.
Yes, but you're aware that in my evidence before the commission, I have stated that I went to Luthuli House twice, and I met with Ms. Jessie Duarte twice in Luthuli House, in the SG's office.
No, Ms. Mentor. The question to you is whether you confirm that the way in which you got to have Ms. Kaunda's number was the way described at page 81. That's the question to you. Do you confirm that that is the way, that is how you got to Ms. Kaunda's number?
That I got Ms. Lakela's phone number from Jesse.
Mr. Cowley, I don't know.
Is there a
if you want
question,
to-
or do you confirm that to be the position?
Okay, how did you get Ms. Kaunda's number? How did you come to have it? Who gave it to you? How did you find it?
I got Ms. Kaunda's number from Jessie Duarte.
Or, at Luthuli House? Or you don't know where you were when you got it from her?
It might have been at Luthuli House.
But you got it from...
I definitely got it from Jesse.
Okay, all right.
Now, in that same record of the public protector, please turn to page 84. Do you have it? Line number 7. There you say, lo and behold, I read, I heard over the radio and in the media that I've been removed as the chair of public enterprises and that the reason was the China trip. But then before that, Lakela Kaunda, whom Jesse advised me to call, called me one Sunday evening even before I called her. That is before my removal from the portfolio committee as chair. She said to me, you have been wanting to see the president for a long time. What you say here has it to do with the Sunday night call?
I have mentioned the Sunday night call there.
So is it yes?
It has got to do with it and more than that.
What I want to draw your attention to is the fact that...
Mr. Cowley, I know we haven't made much progress, and part of it has got nothing to do with you. I see that we probably are close to the expiry of 30 minutes. I think you should get at least another 10 minutes or so, and let's see how far we go.
I'm indebted
But I think try and make the best of it.
Certainly will do so. What I want to draw your attention to is the fact that you say here that even before you managed to call her, Ms. Kaunda had phoned you. No mention of any SMSs, no mention, as you have said in your statements, of any phone calls. Care to comment why there are 3 versions about your earlier communication before the Sunday night call?
I don't understand your question.
There are 3 versions about how you communicated with Ms. Kaunda before the Sunday night call. The first version is that you had SMS contact. The second version, I put it to you, is, according to those 2 statements that I dealt with, that you had phoned, that you had phoned her. The third version is that there's not been a phone call, Kaunda phoned you first. So Can you explain the discrepancies?
I said that before Ms. Kaunda called me the Sunday evening, there had been SMS communication between myself and Ms. Kaunda. And I stand by that.
Why did you not repeat that to the public protector?
It's not here, but that's how it stands. I have explained that before the commission, that there had been SMS communication between myself and Ms. Kaunda. Otherwise, I would not even have recognized her number or who she was when she called me the Sunday evening, when she called me about the meeting up of the Monday morning.
Well, maybe let's put it this way. You were asked earlier on whether the way in which you had communicated with Ms. Kaunda prior to the evening, the Sunday evening that you say she called you, was through SMSs, and you confirmed that. Is that right?
Yes, Chair.
Mr. Cowley has drawn your attention to certain parts of the record before me, which reflects that you actually did call Ms. Kaunda, or the two of you did speak prior to that evening. Do you accept that the record has reflected that, or do you not accept that? In other words, the record reflects that you have said that you had phoned her before, or the two of you had spoken. Is that not your understanding of part of what Mr. Cowley has referred you to?
We had communicated, myself with Ms. Kaunda before the Sunday evening when she called. That form of communication was by SMS. Hence, on the paragraph 25 of the handwritten statement, I said the phone should have been contacted.
Yeah, but Mr. Cowley, you might be able to take this further. But my understanding of parts of the record to which he has referred you to suggests that your communication with Ms. Kaunda prior to that Sunday evening when you say she called you was not limited to SMSs. That's my understanding. Mr. Cowley?
Indeed, Mache, that seems to have been the statements, the content of the statements.
Mr. Cowley is giving you a chance to say which one is correct. Is it that your only communication with Ms. Kaunda prior to that Sunday evening was through SMSs, as I thought you were suggesting earlier, or is the correct position that prior to that Sunday evening, you and Ms. Kaunda had communicated with each other in other ways other than SMSs as well?
Prior to the Sunday evening call, I had communicated, me and Ms. Kaunda, through SMSs.
Only?
And in no other manner?
Not telephonically. I had written to the presidency, but not to her specifically.
Yes, but you never spoke to her on the phone prior to that Sunday evening?
No.
She never called you, and you never called her prior to that Sunday?
I recall that we had SMS exchanges where I said, I got your number from Jesse
No. Let's forget about SMSs. That you have made clear. We're looking at other forms of communication. So I just want to make sure that what you are saying is, prior to that Sunday evening when she called you, according to your version, you and Ms. Kaunda had never communicated in any other way other than through SMSs.
What I remember is SMS's communication before the Sunday evening.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So where this is all heading is, what reaction did it prompt with Ms. Kaunda in anticipation of this cross-examination? She considered your evidence, she considered your statements, and then she acquired the records of her official cell phone for the period October. And she also called for all your telephone numbers. And from a careful consideration of all of that, it then appeared that during the month of October, there had been no communication recorded in her official cell phone records, bearing any reference to any of your numbers. Now, all of this has been made known in an additional affidavit that has been supplied to the Commission. Have you also been supplied with that affidavit?
I have received the affidavit.
And you confirm that that was the version of Ms. Kaunda?
I confirm that Ms. Kaunda has sent a record of her cell phone communication, of her 082 number, and that record it appears to be from her own billing records. It is not a record from the service provider. It is her own record.
Why should they be? Why should it make a difference, Ms. Mentor? Whether it's her own records or records from the service provider, is there a difference?
Because I had wanted to know when I had also asked for the records from the legal team to ask for my records from the service provider. The response was that the service provider does not keep records that are beyond 5 years old. So my records could not be brought to me. But then I asked how then Ms. Kaunda has cell phone records if the service provider only keeps cell phone records for 5 years. So that. Were
you the same service provider, the two of you? Did you use the same service provider, you and Ms. Kaunda, do you know?
Yes, her records were Vodacom and my number was also Vodacom that I was using at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Ms. Mentor, will you please turn to bundle D6A?
Page?
392, 127. 127. Do you have it?
I'm almost there. I'm at 127.
Thank you. That's the first page of Ms. Kaunda's cell phone records for that period, October 2010. And it goes through all the way to 174. Let me understand what you've said just earlier. Do you dispute the veracity and the correctness of these records?
I cannot attest to the veracity of these records because they are not from the service provider. They are from Ms. Kaunda herself, because the service provider could not provide any records that were older than 5 years.
And that's why you dispute these records?
I said I cannot attest to their veracity.
But you cannot dispute the correctness.
Let's handle it like this. I know when lawyers say, can you dispute, it can be confusing to a layperson. Ms. Kaunda has, together with her legal team, placed before the commission certain records, cell phone records. She says these cell phone records are correct. She believes they are correct. And she says, if you had phoned her or had communicated with her, then that your number should be reflected here. Now, you are insisting that she did call you. In the light of these records, are you saying these records cannot be true or are not true? Or are you saying, I don't know whether they are true or not, all I know is that I did receive a call from her? Or are you saying, I challenge them because I believe they are not from the service provider?
I don't know if they are true or not because they are not from the service provider. In addition, Ms. Kaunda in her own affidavit said that she also had an MTN number at that time. And we had requested also in a similar way if she could provide the list of her own itemized billing records from the MTN number. But I cannot say are they true or are they not true because they are not from the service provider.
Well, look at the top of page 127. As I see it, it seems to have Vodacom's logo or emblem, and it's written below that Vodacom. Don't you take that as suggesting that they are from Vodacom, the records?
Chair, if they are from Vodacom, then I have been treated unfairly by both Vodacom as well as the legal team. Because I also asked the legal team to request from Vodacom my cell records for the same period. And for me, the response was the service provider does not keep records going back to that period of time. Hence, I then asked, then how come she has a record? And then the explanation was, this might be her own itemized billing that she might have saved in her own computer.
But do you see what I'm talking about? The logo or emblem plus...
Yes, I do. I do see that.
You do see it. On the face of it, would you accept that that seems to suggest they are from Vodacom, or you don't want to commit yourself on that?
I don't want to commit myself on that, Chair.
Okay. But let's assume that they have been provided by Vodacom. Let's assume that for present purposes. And they don't reflect that you were in communication with Ms. Kaunda. If that is the position, what would be your position with regard to the version that she called you on that Sunday evening? Would you persist with that, or would you say that maybe you are mistaken, she's not the one who called you?
If they are from Vodacom, Chair, I would be able to respond that when equally Vodacom gives me my own records that I put against Ms. Kaunda's records that are also from Vodacom.
But in your own mind, are you quite clear that Ms. Kaunda did call you on that Sunday evening and you spoke to her? Or are you saying you think you did speak to her, there is room that you may be mistaken about that?
I'm very clear that Ms. Kaunda spoke to me that night, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one more aspect.
Yes.
Insofar as the September and the October issue is concerned, as recently as Sunday night, my instructing attorney, myself, and my client had been informed about your supplementary affidavit. That's the first time that we heard that you took the position that the Sunday night call took place in September. Do you agree that that information was brought to bear only as late as Sunday night, the 10th of February 2019?
Insofar as that affidavit was submitted on that day, but prior to that, in my evidence, I had dealt with the dates. I had shifted away from the date of October in relation to many things.
Well, I just shortly want to test that with you. Please turn to D1, page 18. I've already referred you to paragraph 60 of your statement.
page in D1?
1.8.
1.8. We'll try
You mean
and
this
round
statement?
off.
No, D1 is the one with your statement in before the commission.
Mr. Cowley will try and round off in 5 minutes.
This old one might have for my
I beg your
handbag.
pardon.
Will you try and round off in 5 minutes?
Yes, certainly.
Is that all right?
Oh, yes, which page?
18.
I'm at page 80.
There you said that Sunday evening was around October 2010, and then you hung it onto a particular memory about a week or so before the cabinet reshuffle. You see that?
Yes,
And you seem to have moved away from that position.
yes.
That position was confirmed before the public protector. Please turn in that same bundle to page page 86, line 4. You saying, but I fly a lot of times, but I know how I tried to arrive at the date when I issued the statement to the police. I recall that was a Monday before the Sunday of which the President announced the cabinet reshuffle in which I suppose he removed Barbara Hogan. Further down at line 18, you are being questioned by Ms. Marincella, and you respond, now more specifically about the dates. Yes, if today is the Sunday the 7th, I get the call Sunday the 7th in the evening. I will meet the President on the 18th. I mean on the 8th the next day. The reshuffled happened on the 14th with the Sunday following the one of which I spoke to Lakela. Now, just as a matter of record, the reshuffling took place on the 31st of October. That, coupled with these two places in which you have hung the Sunday night onto a particular event, puts it in October. Do you agree?
I have since, yes, that's what the record before the public protector says, but I have since before the commission turned around with the dates and said and moved away from October, when I recalled that I had said something to the President in terms of the timeline in relation to the China trip. So I said this, I don't dispute the record as it stands as part of the transcript before the public protector.
Ms. Mentor, I propose to you that you took a different tact. You averted to September once you learned of the telephone records of Ms. Kaunda. Do you care to respond to that?
I don't agree.
The version of Ms. Kaunda is that she had not made contact with you and she did not arrange this meeting the Sunday evening that was supposed to have taken place in Johannesburg. Your comment?
I maintain that Ms. Kaunda phoned me the Sunday night before the meeting with the President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Well, Ms. Mentor, I think one of the statements to which Ms. Kaunda refers in one of her affidavits or statements before this commission in relation to your evidence that she called you that Sunday evening, one of the things she mentions is that there is a statement, one of the statements that you have made, and I'm not sure whether it's the one that you refer to which you refer as the corrupted statement, or it's another one. She draws attention to the fact that there you said you received a call from a woman whose name you did not know. Do you remember that any of your statement has got that? Either statement or your the transcript of your interview with the public protector. She draws attention to that. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, Chair. I remember that, if my memory serves me well, because I read the transcript with the public protector again last night. I remember that initially I battled with her name. I said a woman called me, but later down in the transcript, then I said Kaunda. So I don't know if
It
that-
might or might not be the same, but I think she draws attention to the fact that at some stage, when you either made a statement, which would have been 2016, if I remember correctly, because I think there isn't any statement you made before 2016, either 2016 or when you met with the public protector. She is saying, Ms. Mentor said she didn't know the name of the woman who called her. In other words, she's saying, how can she say now that I'm the one who called her when actually at that time she didn't know who called her? That's what she's saying, and I'm just giving you a chance to respond to that.
Chair, I think both in the statement to the Hawks in 2016 and in the transcript to the public protector, the name Kaunda features.
Well, let me refer you to page 152 in Exhibit D1. It is to paragraph 25A, to which Mr. Cowley referred you to earlier on. And you might or might not need to go to it. Let me tell you, there is that sentence
Which page, Chair? Sorry. I beg
page
your-
152 of Exhibit D1. But you might not need to go and look at it. Let me first tell you the question. You might be able to respond without looking at it. It's a sentence that Mr. Cowley drew your attention to. You say in paragraph 25 2A, sentence number 3, or no, number 4, the last sentence, typed sentence, I also phoned Miss Lukele Kaunda at Lutuli House. You have said that to say you phoned her is not correct. It should be you contacted her, because you say prior to that evening, Sunday evening, your only manner of communication with her was through SMSs. Is that right?
Yes, Chair.
Now, when you look at that page, you will see that there are a number of additions or amendments that were written by hand in that statement and in that page. You see that?
Yes, Chair.
Were they corrections made by you? Were they meant to be additions or corrections that you wanted to be included in the statement?
If I may address you on the Chair, it was my attempt to demonstrate to the person that brought the statement to me that there was a lot, because I had been looking for my handwritten statement and they had not brought it. On that day they brought this, and I was trying to say, if my handwritten record was here, these things do not actually reflect or should not have been like this. So it was a quick precursor in terms of correcting, but this is my handwriting.
Yes. In other words, you had read the typed statement before you made the additions that you made by hand. Is that right?
As I was reading, I was writing at
You
the
were
same
writing.
time.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
yes. And at that time, when you came to paragraph 25A, where it says, I also phoned Miss Lukele Kaunda at Lutuli House, you didn't pick up anything wrong, that there's something wrong with that.
I missed that. I even
You
missed
missed that.
the issue
Yes.
that Ms. Kaunda has never been at Lutuli House, Chair.
Yes. Okay, no, that's fine. Now, you might wish to say something about this, and I'm bringing this to your attention because it may or may not be that at some stage somebody will address me and say, I should not accept that you had this encounter at Saxon World, and look at the evidence you have given and the statements you have given and say they are unsatisfactory for a number of reasons, okay? So now, one of the things that maybe somebody will say is SAA records were put up and you had issues with them. Parliamentary records were put up, you had issues with them. Home Affairs records were put up, you had issues with them. Ms. Kaunda has put up cell phone records, you have issues with them. And somebody might say, you seem to have issues with all records, and that for that and other reasons, maybe I should not accept your version, your evidence, that indeed there was this encounter that you say you had at Sassonweld. What would you say to that?
I would say, Chair, a lot of time has elapsed since I went public on blowing the whistle on state capture, and since I spoke about my encounter at Saxonwold and how it came about. And a lot of time also had lapsed before this commission could see the light of day. And I would say that it is possible that that length of time had given people time to interfere with records. And also some of the records that I query, Chair, I also query the authenticity of those records or whether those records are official. For instance, I query the SAA records. I also query whether the records of Ms. Kaunda are from the service provider, because the service provider could not provide my own records. So there could have been an interference with records because a lot of time has lapsed. It may have given, I'm not saying people interfered with records, but it has created a possibility of people interfering with records, and some of the records do not even look official, and some of them are not even on official letterheads. Some of them appear to be computer generated.
Yes, no, that's fine. And I also just as I said to you yesterday with regard to the your trip from Cape Town to Johannesburg, just as I say, it's very important in regard to your evidence and your version. Also, the question whether there was this call from Ms. Kaunda is quite important because on your own version, it seems to me, if there was no call from Ms. Kaunda, and as I understand it, you are not entertaining the idea that the call could have come from somebody else. If there was no call from Ms. Kaunda, then you wouldn't have come to Johannesburg because you only came to Joburg because of this call from Ms. Kaunda. Is that right?
Yes, Chair.
Yes. But you say there is no room that you might be mistaken as to who made the call.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, okay.
But
Yeah.
also in addition to that, we do not have the cell phone records of MTN of Ms. Kaunda that she herself had alluded that she had that number also at that time. And Chair, I know that there is an issue of cost.
Yes.
And resource shortage.
Yes, yes.
I would request, if it is possible, that the chair should call for forensic investigation. I know that's costly, but justice can sometimes be very expensive.
Thank you. I don't know if there is anything, I don't expect you, Ms. Selo, to have anything to want to clear up, but if there is, you must just do that quickly, and we move on to counsel for Mr. Mdolo.
Thank you, Chair. No, I didn't have any issues I wanted to clear up with Ms. Mento, but if the Chair would just permit me to look behind me and check that her team
Yes, okay.
doesn't have anything to clear up. Mr. Gotts would like to address you, Chair.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair. I know
Yes.
that I I appreciate that I do not have an automatic right
Yes,
of
yes,
re-examination.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
am applying for the right to re-examine Ms. Mentor either now or at the appropriate time. I have approximately 5 minutes of questions in relation to certain issues that have arisen in the cross-examination. But Chair, I am in your hands. I
Well,
appreciate that it's an indulgence which you are...
Yeah, because it's something we didn't cater for. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we go into cross-examination by counsel for Mr. Mtolo? And when that's finished, it may be that there are things to be sorted out in relation to that evidence as well, and this one. And in the meantime, maybe you and Ms. Silo might have been able to have some communication about the areas of your concern in case they coincide with hers. And if we can sort them out with her dealing with that, all the better. And only if that is really problematic, then I can look at you doing it. Is that all right?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. At this juncture, then, I believe that the legal representatives for Mr. Mtolo are
Yes.
ready to cross-examine.
Yes. Yes, just remind me of your name again. You have
Vincent
been
Suwela,
mentioning
Chair.
it a number of times, but yes, Mr.
Suwela,
Siwela.
yes.
Okay, for Mr. Mtolo. Did I indicate to you what I was thinking I would give you, how much time I would give to you previously or not?
I can't recall, Chair, but I think
30 minutes should do?
30 minutes should do.
Okay, so I'm
Yes.
giving you 30 minutes then.
Yeah. Before
Yes.
I proceed, a pleasant afternoon to you, Chair, and to you, Ms. Mento.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Suwela.
Thank you, sir. Without waste of time, may I kindly refer you to D1 of your evidence, Ms. Mento? And at page 34.
I'm at 34, sir.
And at paragraph 120,
Yes.
this is your first encounter with Advocate Mtolo, is that correct? It relates to the first encounter between yourself and Advocate Mtolo, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you remember the date and the year?
Yes, sir. My first encounter with Mr. Mtolo was on the 21st of June in 2016.
Yes, that's correct. And you had some concern, and at that stage, Advocate Mtolo, you allege, advised you that there's nothing they can do about your matter because their hands were tied, because you have to remove the name of Mr. Zuma from the affidavit. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you still stand by that version?
Yes.
And subsequently, after some deliberations, you agree to remove the name. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, can you explain to us what you mean by deliberations?
What I mean by?
Deliberations.
As mentioned in which paragraph?
120, I think. 120, where it says, after much deliberation, I agreed to remove Mr. Zuma's name from the affidavit in the hope that the Hawks would investigate my complaints.
Yes.
Okay.
So what he's asking is, what do you What are you referring to when you say deliberation, after deliberation?
I'm referring to the conversation that occurred between myself and Mr. Mtolo from the moment he entered the threshold of my door.
Yeah, okay.
So if I hear you correct, you are referring to a discussion between you two.
I beg your pardon?
You are referring to a discussion between you and Advocate Mtolo.
Yes.
Can you tell us what was actually discussed?
When I encountered
Maybe you need to be more clear about that question. Are you asking her what was discussed under what she calls deliberation, or are you asking her what was discussed since Mr. Mtolo came into the room or the two of them met, even if it falls outside the reference to deliberation?
I just want to find out the essence of the discussion, the deliberation. For example, were you promised anything?
by Mr. Mtolo.
Yes.
I don't understand.
Okay, let's put it this way. When you say after much deliberation, you agreed to remove Mr. Zuma's name from the affidavit, is it correct that that deliberation between the two of you, yourself and Mr. Mtolo, would it be a discussion about the pros and cons of removing Mr. Zuma's name from the affidavit?
Chair, it would be much easier for me if I give you a gist of what transpired.
Well, what was the deliberation about?
The deliberation was the fact that I have been looking for my statement from the Hawks and I was not getting it, and that the Hawks have not been acting on my statement and asking and then being given the reasons why the Hawks have not acted on my statement.
It was not a discussion between you and Mr. Mtolo concerning whether or not you should remove Mr. Zuma's name from the affidavit? Or did it include that and other things?
It included that and other things.
Okay, all right.
Now, you are aware that your conversation on that particular day with Mr. Mtolo was recorded, not so? And the transcript has been duly served?
Yes.
On the attorneys for the commission, as well as your attorneys. Are you aware of that?
Well, let's ask this. Let's put it this way: are you aware that that conversation or discussion between yourself and Mr. Mtolo was recorded?
Not in its totality.
But you are aware that it.
I'm aware that there is a recording
there's some
of that
recording,
day.
Yes.
Chair.
That recording, does it cover the whole discussion as far as you know?
It doesn't cover the whole discussion, Chair.
Yeah. Are you able to say how much of the discussion the recording covers and how much was left out? I know that you referred at some stage to 9 minutes.
No, Chair.
Yeah.
The 9 minutes
It's for the
pertains
other
to
one.
another recording.
Okay, all right. This one, are you able to say, or are you not able to say how much of the discussion is not covered by the recording?
The part where Mr. Mtolo entered and I confronted him and we went through my first lounge is not covered. The part where I sat with Mr. Mtolo in my second lounge is covered in his recording.
Okay, all right. Continue, Mr. Sweller.
You subsequently agreed to remove the name according to what is contained in paragraph 120. Let me read it to you.
Well, we have read it, Mr. Suela. I
Yes.
think just move on. It's in her affidavit that she agreed to remove the name. Put the next question.
So you agreed to remove the name.
Yes, because the Hawks were not going to do anything with my statement, according to him, if I was not removing. I had tied their hands by mentioning the name of President Zuma. And if I wanted the Hawks to proceed with the case I laid, I had to do something with the name of President Zuma as it appeared in my statement.
But now, you are a seasoned parliamentarian of 14 years. Why would you do this? Because this will constitute an offense.
Because I knew that I could reinstate that charge again when I wanted to, once they begin with attending to the charges I've laid.
So if I hear you correctly, you were conniving with Mtolo to commit an offense.
If you say that is conniving, I was forcing them to deal with the charges that I have laid.
But I put it to you that this is an offense, isn't it?
I was going to reinstate the charge against President Zuma.
Let's go to paragraph 1 to 2 of the same page, just below. You say at some point, and I read, I went to lay a charge against Mr. Ntlemeza and Advocate Mtolo. I laid a charge of obstructing justice at the IP offices
Hang on, Mr. Suela.
in Belleville.
Hang on, Mr. Suela.
Yes.
My record reflects that last year, Ms. Mentor corrected or amended that first sentence of paragraph 122, where it says, and Advocate Mtolo, she said it should be Mr. Pahlane.
That's correct.
But I see I've got and, but Mtolo's name is crossed out. I'm not sure whether I recorded it correctly. Miss Mentor, can you see paragraph 122?
Yes, Chair, you are right. I have corrected that.
Yes.
Yes, Chair.
But in terms of the latest, should Mtolo's name still be there at the end of that sentence or not?
His name?
His name,
No, Mr. Mtolo's name should not feature on 122.
Oh, so so the first sentence should read, at some point I went to lay a charge against Mr. Ntlemeza
And
Mr.
others.
Well, I've got here you said Mr. Pahlane.
Yes, it was Mr. Mtlemeza, Mr. Pahlane, and a certain lady.
Oh, okay. You
Yes.
don't remember the name of the lady.
It's Miss or Mrs. Mononopi, Chair.
Oh, okay.
Yes. But at that time, I was battling with her name.
With the name. Okay, all right. So, Mr. Suela, your client's name,
Has been excluded, Your Worship.
yeah,
I'm consciously aware of that, Your Worship.
yes.
Yes, that's what my next question will emanate from.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we are on the same page because you read Advocate Mtolo on a sentence that I don't have Advocate Mtolo in terms of the correction, but originally it was there.
Well, Ms. Mentor, we have diligently perused the transcript, and at nowhere or at no stage is it apparent that Advocate Mtolo made these assertions contained in your paragraph 120. What's your comment?
I maintain that Mr. Mtolo made that assertion to me when he entered my house. And I would later refer you to the, maybe I should not go there. I should wait for you until you arrive there. Maybe you will arrive there when you ask me that question.
Well, just deal with the question he's putting to you. He's saying, if you look at paragraph 120, there you made a number of allegations against Mr. Mtolo in terms of what you say he said. His counsel is saying Mr. Mtolo's version is that he never said any of those things that you attribute to him in paragraph 120. What do you say to that?
I maintain that Mr. Mtolo said those things to me.
Okay, all right, Mr. Swela.
Assuming that your story is something to go by, why didn't you report him to the police? Because you have a legal duty to do so. Why didn't you open a case against him for defeating of ends of justice?
Because I was looking for my statement from the Hawks.
I put it to you, Ms. Mentor, is because these allegations are false and malicious. What's your comment?
I maintain that the reason why I deleted the name of the president from the statement, it was under the influence of Mr. Mtolo, and that subsequent to that, even the additional statements that he purport that I made to him seek to arrive at the same determination, which is the determination of doing away with the name of President Zuma from the charges I had laid or the statement I had made.
Due to time's constraint, I'm not going to be dilly-dallying. Can I refer you to page 120 of your D1 bundles? Uh, 150 rather.
150.
Pardon me, Chair.
50.
Yeah, 150.
I'm at 150.
Yes. This is your statement, which was termed corrupted statement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Corrupted by who?
By the Hawks.
Now, there are alterations, handwriting here. Whose handwriting is this? From page 150 to 157, 158?
Because I had demanded my handwritten statement from the Hawks, and because Mr. Mtolo was supposed to bring it with me on
Ms. Mentor, I'm sorry. Just listen to the questions carefully. The question doesn't require reasons. It simply says, whose handwriting is this?
It's my handwriting. I beg your pardon, Chair.
Okay.
So you made these alterations, correct?
Yes, Chair.
Now I refer you to paragraph 43A, 43B on page 155.
A and B.
Yes, are you there?
Yes, sir.
And it reads as follows. He didn't even look surprised. I was the person made to be the mad one. The president didn't even have a meeting with me. He walked me out of the house to the vehicles, and so I walked with crutches. Told me that if he was aware, he would have made other arrangements. And then to paragraph 44.3, I can't deduce what is written here, but where it's typed, it reads as follows. As we walked out, the president took my handbag. Do you note that?
Yes.
Now, you made alterations, but the name of the president is still here. So the name was not removed from the statement.
But there is a point where the name, the president, reference to the president is scratched out in the same document.
Can you show us, please?
May I refer you to paragraph 61A, page 157 of that very same statement?
Page what?
157,
Yes.
paragraph 61A.
Yes.
I am off, it's supposed to be off. I'm of the conclusion that the Gupta family, the son of the president, and some ministers have, whom I have named in this statement, as well as the president to a certain extent, that is blotted out.
I'm sorry. You said 157,
Page 157, Chair.
the top paragraph.
Yes, that's no, paragraph 61A on page 157.
Oh, okay, all right. I see it now. You may continue, Mr. Swela.
Yes. You are still on the forum, Ms. Mentor.
No, I was
You
showing.
asked her
proceeded.
to tell you where she had removed the
Yes.
name of the president, and she has indicated to you that she did so in paragraph 61A, and I think she's referring to the second line where there appears to be, where the reference to the president appears to be crossed out.
And then now, how about, do you have a reason for not removing the president at paragraph 43A and 43B? I mentioned earlier on.
I was directed to paragraph 61A,
You're directed by who?
Mr. Mtolo.
But this is surprising because this is not apparent on the transcript, Ms. Mentor.
Remember I said do you remember that in the transcript there is the name of the president mentioned?
Is that a question to me? Or a comment?
Just put your question to the witness again, Mr. Swela. So let me hear what's going on.
Yes. I'm saying you've removed the name of the president on the other part, but omitted paragraph 4.3 subsection A and 4.3 subsection B. I want to know what is the reason for doing that?
Because in paragraph 61, Mr. Mtolo showed me that I am mentioning the president insofar as a corrupt relationship exists between himself and the Guptas.
So, in other words, was he saying that you mustn't mention in your statement that there was a corrupt relationship between the former president and the Gupta family? Is that what he was saying must not be reflected in your statement?
It amounted to that, Chair.
Yes, okay, all right. In other words, not that you should not mention, you should
At
not
all.
make a reference to the president at all. Okay.
Now, can I refer you to paragraph 1 to 3 on page 35? Are you there?
I am there.
You have about 10 minutes or so
I'll
left.
time to wrap up.
Yes,
Thank you,
okay,
Chair, for
thank you.
alerting me.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not going to read in total. I'm just going to summarize that at this particular point in time, you were supposed to meet Advocate Mtolo and a certain Advocate Fochel from the NPA. And that the meeting was scheduled for the 14th of December. Although you don't mention the year, but I assumed it's 2016. Do you note that?
That 2016 is an error, Mr. Siwela. It should be 2017.
It should be 2017.
Yes.
But you note here that there's no year stated.
Before me, there is a year. In all the documents I have.
Are you on paragraph 125, Mr. Swela?
1, 2, 3 on page 35, Chair.
There is a reference on mine to mid-December 2016.
Yes.
Is that the one that, Ms. Mentor, you say should be 2017?
Yes, it's an error, Chair.
Okay.
So
Thank
you are
you.
rectifying it now.
Yes.
Now, your submission is that the meeting didn't materialize.
In 2017, yes.
Now, let's just clarify this. This was a meeting scheduled for the 14th December 2017 or 2016?
Let me assist you, Mr. Swela, because I also battled with the same problem initially. There was a meeting in 2016 December with myself and Mr. Mtolo, with Mrs. Monopoly.
Nonopi, I think.
Mononopi.
Yeah.
That was the 14th of December 2016. There was supposed to be a meeting between myself and Advocate Mtolo as well as Advocate Fogel of the NPA in December 2017. A meeting that Mr. Mtolo correctly says I cancelled within a short space of time because something happened. That meeting did not take place, and that meeting is the one that is referred to, 123 refers to that.
Chair, we've been talking about the transcript. I don't know if you are in possession thereof, but I have proof before me that they were evenly filed on the 1st of November 2018 with the attorney for the commission.
Is that something that the legal team would have, because they will know if I've got...
They should have, because, Your Worship, this took place on the 1st November 2018, and I have proof of receipt thereof from Mabunda Incorporated.
Well, let's check with Ms. Selo. She will know what I have and what I don't have.
Because apparently it appears that they are not in possession hereof.
Yeah, let me hear from...
Maybe we should clarify with my colleague.
Yeah, she will talk to me. Take a seat, Mr. Swela, for the time being.
Thank you, Chair. The transcripts that I think Mr. Suela is referring to are the transcripts in bundle D6.
D6?
D6.
Okay,
Starting
all right.
D6A. The first two
Yes.
documents are the transcripts
Yes.
that Mr. Mtolo's lawyer submitted.
Yes.
I'll accept that it was on that date. They
Yeah.
are in the file, Chair.
Okay, all right. I think you will have to refer to the transcript as they appear in Exhibit D6A to the extent, if you need to refer to it at all, but so that we use that.
I don't have D6, unfortunately, Chair. But I don't...
Well, I know that Ms. Mentor has indicated that Mr. Mtolo has two recordings, has recordings of two meetings. One of the recordings relates to a meeting that she also recorded, and another one relates to a meeting that she did not record. And in respect of the meeting that both of them have a recording, she has said her recording covers the discussion, including a 9-minute discussion that Mr. Mtolo's recording does not cover. And if I remember correctly, she has said that in terms of content, there is really nothing she disputes in Mr. Mtolo's recording. All her concern is that it's not complete. Ms. Mentor, is my recollection of what you said correct? You are tired now.
Yes, Chair, I think I'm tired. I
Yes.
don't want to, I feel embarrassed to ask the Chair to.
Yeah,
But I would ask Mr. Siwela to proceed with questioning.
Okay, all right. Okay. I think he's about to wrap up. There is not much time left.
In your evidence in chief, with regards to your sessions on paragraph 1 to 3, on page 35, you stated that the meeting never materialized. You also sent an SMS saying you were sick, and then that was it. You never met ever since. Do you remember?
The meeting between myself, Advocate Mtolo, and Advocate Fochel never materialized.
Yes. I put it to you, ma'am, that you are in error. This was not the meeting of 2017, the 14th of December. It was actually the 14th December 2016. What's your comment?
Chair, the meeting of 14th December 2016 did take place. It was
Yes.
yes. The meeting of December 14, 2017 did not take place because I cancelled it by SMS at short notice.
Okay.
And do you remember who was at the meeting on the 14th December 2016?
Ms. Mononopi was at the meeting with another person. They arrived about 9 minutes ahead of Mr. Mtolo.
But, ma'am, the record shows, the transcript shows it, that the meeting took place. It was only Mr. Mtolo and General Mnonopi. It's on record. What's your comment?
How does the transcript show that?
It shows that
Does it say who attended? I assume when you talk about a transcript, that's a transcript of a recording of the conversation. Now, I don't know if that shows who attended, but what it can show is who spoke.
yes, that's
What if somebody was there but did
Yes.
not speak?
Yes. And I also put it
So,
to,
in other words, I'm saying it just because the transcript may reflect that only two people spoke doesn't necessarily mean those were the only two people at the meeting. It could be that there was somebody else but who did not speak and therefore
yes.
is not reflected in the transcript.
yes. Due to time constraints, Your Worship, it's my instruction, Chair, it's my instructions, Ms. Mento, that the said meeting was between you, Advocate Mtolo, and General Mnonopi, and nobody else. What's your comment?
Before I comment, I note that your client is conceding, contrary to his statement, that in the meeting of the 14th December, it was not only myself and him. He had purported in his statement that that meeting was only myself and him. But both my recording and his recording shows that there was a General Mononopi as well.
Well, you have just spoken now about the meeting of 14th December, and you didn't say the year, and yet we know from what you have told us that apparently there was a meeting on the 14th of December 2016, and then of course you said there was a meeting scheduled for 14th December 2017 which didn't take place. But the one you are talking about is the one that did take place,
Yes,
namely
Chair.
14th December 2016.
Yes, Chair.
And you say the people who attended the meeting were yourself, Mr. Mtolo, and Ms. Mnonopi.
There was a third person.
Yes, but are you saying that third person was Ms. Nonopi, or are you saying you are not sure?
No, in addition to Ms. Minonopi,
There was a third person, not a fourth person.
the fourth chap, sorry.
Yeah, okay. And you don't know the name of the fourth person?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
Yes,
Yes, okay.
Was it a male or a female? I guess you don't remember either.
No, I'm trying to recall.
Yeah, she's trying to remember. But
hope
if there is
this doesn't
nothing,
compromise my
if
time,
yeah,
Chair.
I think if you
Maybe I
have-
should proceed. Can we go to 165 of your bundle of evidence? That's D1. Page
you
165.
are on overtime, but that's okay. A few minutes,
Please, Chair.
okay.
I'm at 165,
Yes. Do you see 166?
page 166.
Yeah. Do you see 167?
I'm at 167.
Yeah. Is that your signature at the end of the affidavit?
Yes, I've said that that looks like my signature.
Is
Yes.
it yours or looks like yours?
It is.
Okay. And then you go down, you see that it was taken on the 14th of the 12th, 2016. Is that correct? You see the date there?
Yes.
And then that it was commissioned by Mandla Mtolo, which is Advocate Mtolo. Do you see that?
Yes.
So you agree that the meeting of the 14th December 2016 did take place?
I've never
She
disputed
has
that.
said that a number of times.
Yes. Now, you also went to the state capture, is that correct?
I beg yours?
I want to say the public protector.
Yes.
Yes. And we've perused your record, which is from page 38 to page 149. And the said meeting took place on the 21st of July 2016. Do you remember that meeting?
I do. Are you on bundle, the same bundle?
Same bundle, yes?
Which, yes.
From page 38 to page 149. It's your interview with the public protector.
Yes.
Yes. We've also perused this document. And at no stage do you mention that you were offered by the Hawks to remove the name of the president in your statement. What's your comment?
What Mr. Suela is saying is that according to the transcript of your interview with the public protector, it seems that you never told the public protector that Mr. Mtolo had asked you to remove the reference to President Zuma from your statement.
Yes. I did not do that.
Yes.
I concede. Because the meeting of me and the public protector related largely about the Saxon world, also, but I concede that I did not tell her. It's now
Yes.
nowhere in the transcript.
Okay, but what you are saying is the focus was on Saxon world.
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
I think, Chair, I've done what I could. Time is against me. And,
Sorry, Chair, may I say something?
Before you say anything, you were saying something, Mr. Suela.
Yes, I think my time is over.
Yes, your time is over, but is there something quite important that you would still want to ask?
Yes, just one aspect
Okay, deal with
which nearly
that.
escaped my mind. On paragraph 120, on page 34.
I will give you a chance to say what you needed to say, Ms. Mentor, but let's just deal with this first.
Page?
134. Paragraph 120.
Yes.
No, hang on. Page
34,
or 34?
yes, at paragraph 120.
Yes, that's the same paragraph
It's
to
the same
which
paragraph.
you
But just
referred to earlier.
Yes, Chair. The first statement, you say a member of the Hawks, Advocate Mtolo, along with another member of the Hawks, visited you. Do you see that?
I do.
And my instructions is that on the day in question, Advocate Mtolo spent 2 hours in your house. What's your comment?
I was not looking at the time.
And you've offered him cold drink and some water or beverages. Is that correct?
Everybody that comes into my house is offered something to drink or eat.
And nowhere is it apparent on the record where you offer the another or the other member of the Hawks.
May I draw
It
your...
is- I'm sorry, is Mr. Mtolo's version that he came alone?
He was alone. That's what is
Yes.
also incorporated in our affidavit.
Okay.
Yes.
Chairperson?
Are you certain, Ms. Mentor, that he was not alone, or is there room that you could be mistaken about him having come with somebody else?
I am certain, Chair. I am certain to the extent that even to the public protector,
Yeah.
in my transcript, I said to the public protector, Mr. Mtolo was accompanied by another person that he told me is a cyber security specialist. And in my transcript with the public protector, I even asked the public protector, I wonder what the cyber security specialist had to do with his visit to me.
Okay.
Lastly, but not least, Chair, do you know what was the purpose of the cyber specialists present?
Well, she has just told you, she said to the public protector, she wondered why the cyber specialist was there,
No further question.
but she might wish to say something to that question.
I wondered, but I now think he is the person that recorded the meeting between Mr. Mtolo and myself on that day. But I wondered, when I stood before
At
the
that
public
time.
protector, I was still wondering what was his role. Because at that time, I was not aware that there was a recording.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chair,
Have you and,
we've been trying to signal one another.
but it's been difficult
to
because
get
the
a
hearing has
sensitive-
been going on.
Because he needed to concentrate on what
Yes,
Ms. Mentor was saying at the
yes,
same time.
okay.
But I will state for the record, Chair, I have no cross-examination,
You have
even in respect of this. However,
No re-examination,
no re-examination, Chair,
if it can be called that.
if it can.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
However, Chair, I would like to to place certain things on record.
Yeah.
Firstly, the transcripts that Mr. Mtolo has cross-examined on, which is the transcripts, the 2 transcripts appearing at D6A from page 1, these transcripts were provided by Mr. Mtolo.
Yes,
They are not by the commission.
yes,
Earlier, the chair will recall that I proposed to submit the actual recording into evidence. And the chair indicated that perhaps it's for Mr. Mtolo to do so if he's going to rely
yes,
on those recordings.
yes,
Unfortunately, I tried to remind Mr. Suela
yeah,
that the actual recordings themselves have
Yeah.
not been submitted and he should do so.
Yes.
But I think he misunderstood me somehow.
yeah,
So the result is you have the transcript, but you don't
Yes.
have the recording.
yes,
And we deem it imperative that the recording must be submitted.
yes,
This is particularly important, Chair, because a number of questions Mr. Suela put to Ms. Mentor
Yes.
as to the conversations she had with Mr. Mtolo on the 2 occasions, he refers to the transcript.
Yes.
And we have not tested whether the recording itself provided is complete, has been tampered with, and whether the transcript is a true reflection of the recording. That process still has to take place. So,
Well, Ms. Mento has said that insofar as the content is concerned, that is in respect of the meeting where both of them have a recording, she has no issues with the content except that the recording doesn't cover a certain part of the conversation.
indeed, Chair.
Now, if there is and Mr. Suela has not in his cross-examination challenged that, namely Mr. Mtolo's recording is not complete. Now, if it's common cause that it's not complete, but where it's provided, there are no disputes between Ms. Mento and Mr. Mtolo in terms of what was discussed, there may be no need for the admission of the actual recording. The actual recording might be important where there is a dispute, a material dispute in relation to the content.
Chair, if with your permission, as regards the second, and yes, we know it's common cause that there's a difference of 9 minutes. Having the actual recording submitted into evidence will enable us to determine why there is that difference. Is it because Mr. Mtolo transcribed from the 10th minute only? Is it because he removed from the recording the first 9 minutes, or it could potentially be he recorded from that juncture?
I don't think you need admission of that in order to do that task. Once it's made available to you without admission, you can do that homework. And when you have the result may suggest that there is no need for the admission of the actual recording as long as the transcript is there and there is no dispute about the content.
We are happy to do so, Chair, except that we would have preferred to work with the official version submitted before you. But
No,
if the Chair would like us to deal with that, we will proceed.
Work on it first, because that will enable you to be able to say to me, is there a need or is there no need for the admission of the recording? Because if there is no dispute and the transcript, the two transcripts, insofar as they cover the same period in the discussion, are materially the same, and Mr. Mtolo doesn't dispute the transcript of Ms. Mento insofar as the 9 minutes is concerned, we won't need the recording.
Noted, Chair, and we will deal with it along those lines. That takes me then to the first recording, which there would appear to be some, I think, contradiction between what Mr. Mtolo sets out and what Ms. Mento says actually went down or actually transpired on the day.
I didn't gather that from Mr. Suela's cross-examination.
Mr. Suela, what we have in regards to the second occasion is 2 recordings, so they are comparable. What we have in regard to the first, there is only Mr. Mtolo's. And
Yes.
Ms. Mento has testified that in the course of the first consultation, Mr. Mtolo indicated that she should make certain removals, in particular reference to the former president.
Yes.
What appears in the transcript is there is no reference to such a conversation.
Yes.
Now, we need that submitted into evidence because that's what now Mr. Mtolo is relying upon. And it was put to Ms. Mento that such never happened. And we need to subject the recording itself to verify that it has not been tampered with.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, you can do that homework before it's admitted.
We are happy to deal with it
Because,
on that basis as well.
If you, at some stage, you have got to look at Mr. Mtolo's transcript of the discussions of that meeting.
Yes, Chair.
His is the only recording that is there.
Indeed, Chair.
And Ms. Mento and his lawyers, her lawyers, need to look at that transcript, need to listen to the recording if they can, and be able to say, we have some issues with this transcript, we don't have issues, or we do have issues with the recording or we don't have issues with the recording. If we do, these are the issues. Those should be sorted out, if at all possible, outside of the hearing. And if they can't be sorted out, then they come here at a time when everybody knows where the areas of disagreement are.
We are happy to follow that course, Chair.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Ms. Mento wanted to mention something.
Ms. Minto?
Sorry, I beg your pardon, Chair, it does not have anything to do with use.
Yeah.
Okay,
When you finish.
Thank you. May we conclude?
Yeah.
As I indicated,
You do have no questions for
for
re-examination,
her,
yeah?
but
I will allow
Mr. God's
her counsel, yeah. I'll hold you to the 5 minutes you mentioned earlier on, is that right?
Thank you, Chair.
And just give me your surname again.
It's GOTZ, G-O-T-Z.
G-A?
G-O-T-Z.
G-O-T.
Z.
G-O-T, got.
GOTZ, G-O-T-Z.
Z?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank
And
you.
the first name's
I'll give you
Ant.
5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Mentor, there were certain questions asked by my learned friend, Mr. Cowley, about whether you had testified as to the date in September in your evidence in chief. Can I ask you to look at a copy of the transcript for day 4, which is the 27th of August 2018. And to look at page 51 of that transcript. And perhaps I can read it very quickly for you. It starts perhaps at line 14, where the chairperson says, "Are you able to tell us the Sunday, what date, if you are able?" And you can look at your statement that if that will remind you. Then, Ms. Mentor, you say, "I'm not sure of the exact date, except that I know that it was post the China trip." The chairperson asks you the month and the year. And then you say, "It was post the China trip. The China trip was towards the end of August, and it was before the reshuffling of Minister Barbara Hogan, and that happened at the end of October." So this was somewhere between mid-September and October. I would say mid-September and October, because when I eventually met the president in Saxonwold, amongst other things, I recall saying to the president, "I apologize, President, for refusing to see you in China 2 weeks ago." And the chairperson asks, "Okay, so this was sometime between September or from September to sometime in October?" And you respond, "Yes, Chair." Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Mentor, perhaps you can tell us just with reference to the front of that transcript, what date were you giving this evidence?
What date did I give the evidence?
Yes.
It was the 27th of August 2018.
Then perhaps I can refer you to Ms. Kaunda's statement. And it's to be found, Chair, in bundle D6A.
Yes, page 112 to 175. Is that the one?
Indeed, Chair, the statement itself starts at page 113. Ms. Mentor, perhaps we can just turn to the end of that statement. It's at page 121. If you could identify the date on which Ms. Kaunda signed the statement.
Ms. Kaunda signed the statement on the 17th of September in 2018.
Thank you. Then can I ask you to look at the, just very briefly, the itemized bills which appear on page 127, and they run through to page 174. Ms. Mentor, perhaps you can just look at that and tell us what month and what year these itemized billing relates to.
2010 October.
Did I hear you say October 2010?
Yes, sir. October 2010.
And Ms. Mentor, have you seen cell phone records from Ms. Kaunda for this cell phone number for September 2010?
No, I haven't. We have requested that and we were never afforded that.
You mentioned in your evidence, and I'm not sure I understood it, that there was another cell phone number in relation to an MTN number. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that? Tell us about that.
Both Ms. Kaunda herself, in her earlier affidavit or statement, attest to the fact that she had an 083 number, and we had also asked for the records of that number that we were never given. Yesterday we were given a number of MTN numbers, but no records of the numbers, MTN numbers that Ms. Kaunda had that were MTN. One of them was recut and active in around May 2010.
Thank you, Chair. Those are our questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that was within the 5 minutes.
No, you kept within the time. Thank you.
Chair, you kept on forgetting my...
Yes.
It's a
What
second
would you like
thing.
to say? Yes.
When Mr. Siwela was still on the stand,
Yes,
regarding
I've
the
forgotten about
recording
that.
of Mr. Mtolo of the 21st of June,
Yes.
the part that is not reflecting on his recording is the part that he said when he entered my house that it's because I tied their hands. And naturally, Mr. Mtolo would not record himself saying that, neither would Mr. Mtolo produce a recording that testifies that he said so. It was right at the beginning when he entered with that other guy, when I asked him where they have been, where the statement is, he said, because we have tied our hands by mentioning the fact that the president is having a corrupt statement, relationship with those. I would like just to say that it is that part that I'm referring to when I'm saying that the recording does not start right at the beginning of my interaction with Mr. Mtolo, but
Oh.
it starts at a certain point of the interaction.
Okay. Okay. But so, in other words, you are saying the important part of what he's recording doesn't include is the part where you raised that issue with him right soon after he had entered the room.
Yes, yes, Chair.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before perhaps I say that concludes Ms. Meto's testimony, Mr. Siwela would like to address you.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Swela.
Thank you, Chair. We just want to voice our grievance.
Yes.
We know the way the cohesion between the legal team and those who are defending implicated parties sometimes is a bit shambolic. It's
I'm sorry, just start from the beginning. I want to make sure I understand, I hear what you say.
Yes, maybe to make
There is a grievance you have.
Yes.
Yeah. What is it?
like being served with documents few hours before the
hearing.
sitting of the commission. It's really
Yes.
grossly unfair, because we
Yes.
can't consult with our clients. We
Yes.
can't digest and study the
Yes.
content of the document. We find that to be
Yes.
extremely
Yes.
shambolic. If maybe
Yes.
this may be addressed.
Are there particular instances that you want to bring to my attention insofar as you are concerned that have happened, that you want to mention which document came when and so on?
A recent example is that recording which purports to be that of Ms. Mento. I only received same on Sunday, just before midnight.
Yes, well, I don't know whether you were here or whether you weren't here when Ms. Selo provided an explanation about that one. Ms. Mento or her lawyers apparently sent it to Mr. Mabunda, who has been the attorney for the commission, and Mr. Mabunda or his office, it looks like, didn't pass it on to the legal team until Friday, I think until end of last week,
Yes.
or weekend, I'm not sure. So the legal team themselves got it late. There is an affidavit, I've been told, where Mr. Mabunda gives an explanation for this. I haven't seen it yet, but I had called for an affidavit from him to explain why this affidavit was made available to the legal team late in circumstances where he had received it in November. I think that to the extent that it may be necessary, the legal team could make a copy of that affidavit to you for you to see what the explanation is. So in regard to that, that has been mentioned, and I have said that I'm unhappy about that.
Another issue that I've noted with grave concern is that Counsel Silo seems to be flabbergasted that there was no recording, and yet we have filed the same on the 1st of November 2018.
Which recording are you talking about now? The transcript?
The one she wrote, yes, just recently, a few minutes ago.
Well, I'm not sure. She said there are two transcripts in Exhibit D6A at the top, at the beginning, and she said both those relate to Mr. Mtolo's recording. And if they are here, I assume they have had that for some time. So I'm not sure that, I don't know if she complained that she didn't get it until late, but she will say something just now.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and I agree with you, Chair. I think perhaps Mr. Suela misunderstood me. I have no complaints whatsoever
Yes.
about receiving Mr. Mtolo's
Yes.
recordings
Yes.
and transcripts. Those
Yes.
came in time. The only issue that had arisen was as regards Ms. Mento's
one,
recording.
yeah.
I trust that
Yes.
settles the matter.
Okay, all right.
Chair, that would bring to a conclusion. Ms. Mento would like to
Mento's
say something.
Evidence.
Mentor
Ms.
would like to-
Mento?
I just wanted to thank you, Chair, before I step off the witness stand. I would like to thank you and to thank your team. And as I said yesterday, it has been a difficult process, but I am happy that I could play a part in blowing the whistle against state capture and in going to court several times to make sure that this commission sees the light of day. And I wish you and your team and your proceedings luck, Chair. And I wish that you will assist us to arrive at the intended purpose of us fully, not only understanding what went wrong, but eventually making sure through this process, those that had done us in and done us wrong as South Africans are finally faced with justice, and that justice takes its course. It is the yearning of most, if not all, South Africans, that your commission uncovers the truth, and that at the end of that, whoever has done us wrong as a nation and a country, the law takes its course, and that whoever is found to be guilty, what should happen to happen, but also that we recover our resources, whatever we have lost as a country. I thank you very much, Chair. Much as I've been aggrieved sometimes about the manner in which I felt that I was being interrogated,
Yes.
I think this is a very good process, and I am inviting South Africans to come forward to the Commission to become witnesses, and I would like to take this time to assure them that it is a fair process and that they will be treated fairly, and it is a process that no one should shun away from. And I encourage everybody to come forward, Chair, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mentor, for those very encouraging words. I also take this opportunity to once again thank you for coming forward to share with the Commission what you know and what you experienced. And as I said last year, at the end, I will have to decide which evidence I accept, which evidence I don't accept. But for the fact that you came forward, I thank you, and I agree with you that more South Africans should come forward, because this process is part of rebuilding our country, and all of us should want to have a role, so that when one day we have a better country, we can all look back and say we contributed. So thank you very much for coming forward. For now, you are excused.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As Ms. Mentor leaves the stand, I beg leave to hand in the affidavit prepared by Mr. Mabunda in respect
Yes.
of the recording and the late transcription.
Yes.
Copies have been made and will be distributed to the
all
person,
concerned, yeah.
to all those concerned, and
Yes.
Ms. Mentor as well, Chair.
Okay, all
With your
right.
leave. Thank you, Chair.
You had indicated that you were hoping we would do 2 other witnesses, I think you said.
Indeed, Chair, we have Mr. Bloom ready to testify. And
Yes.
besides that are the experts
Yes.
that have tendered the report
Yes.
that is already on record,
Yes.
and perhaps to answer questions of clarification that may arise from the Chair.
We are already at 5.
Yeah, Chair.
How is their availability? We are not sitting tomorrow. How is their availability on Thursday and Friday? Do you know?
I haven't checked.
I would imagine that certainly Mr. Bloom would be very short,
Yes, Chair.
and it may well be that the experts also should not be long, and it may well be that we could start earlier than normal on Thursday in order to accommodate their evidence without interfering with plans for other witnesses. Do you know what their situation is? I don't know about the experts, but I think Mr. Bloom might well, if he doesn't have other commitments, be able to accommodate us.
May I indicate, Chair?
I think he wants to indicate immediately. Mr. Bloom? Thank you very much, Mr. Bloom. Thank you.
Chair, Mr. Bloom will be led by Ms. Buthelezi. She's best placed, I guess, to speak on that. May I address the question of the experts?
Well, if she was ready to lead him today, she would be ready to lead him on Thursday. So what's the problem?
No, Chair, I don't have a problem.
You
I'm
can
saying
commit her, there's no problem, yeah. So, Mr.
prefer
Bloom, we
not
can
to.
deal with Mr. Bloom on Thursday morning. We'll talk about what time to start just now. And the experts, how
The
is their
experts, Chair, I would like
availability?
to mention that as we indicated, they are employees of the DPW. They've spent the whole day here yesterday and today.
Yes.
I haven't discussed with them to see if they are able to be available on Thursday.
Yes.
With your permission, Chair, is it possible that, I think there's
Yeah.
an indication for me? That cuts my presentation short. I understand, Chair, the experts are available on Thursday. I unfortunately am not, but within the team, one of the members should be able to lead the experts,
Yes,
Chair. Yes.
yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. In terms of experts, are you contemplating one witness or two, or how many?
My view was that we could survive with one. They worked as a team.
Yes,
But they had initially expressed a preference for two to testify.
yeah,
It was due to time constraints that I had insisted that probably one. But in light
Yes.
of the changed circumstances that they will not be testifying today, perhaps then the chair may expect to hear from two. But each one not at length, Chair.
okay, maybe we should, and they are available on Thursday, yeah?
Yes, Ms.
Yes.
Advocate Molefe has just confirmed to me.
Then maybe we should start either 9 o'clock or 9:30 on Thursday, and if need be, in the afternoon, we could add another hour and finish at 5. That is, in case the other witnesses that we're going to be giving evidence,
Yes, Chair.
we need more time. Let us say we start at 9:30 on Thursday, and then we'll start with Mr. Bloom, and then it will be either one or two experts, whoever will lead them, or will decide whether it's going to need to be two or one.
Indeed, Chair. And I would like to believe that before they are called, whoever will be leading them will be able to indicate to you ahead of time
Yeah.
whether they'll be leading one or two of them.
Yeah, no, that's
Yes, Chair.
fine. Okay,
Thank you,
I
Chair.
think that puts us in a position where we can adjourn. We are not going to have a session tomorrow. We will resume on Thursday at 9:30 in the morning. We adjourn.
Thank you.